Hello and welcome to another BBC Radio Stoke City Fans Forum. We are live from the Bet365 Stadium on the eve of the new Championship season with a live audience. Nailed it. Okay, I think we should keep that applause going as we welcome our three panellists. First up, Sporting Director Jonathan Walters. A whistle for you too, John. Head Coach Steven Schumacher. And Chair John Coates. Chaps, welcome. John, this is our fourth one that we've done together now. Yeah. So for a fifth one, I'm expecting like a present or a gift or something, just to mark the occasion.
No.
I'll think of something too, don't worry. It won't be a one-sided thing. We'll get on with the questions then, as we've had plenty in. I will just say that these have all come through to us on the BBC Radio Stoke Sport channels, on social media, so hopefully people are going to get the questions that they've sent in tonight answered. We've had absolutely loads, some of similar topics, so we're trying to make sure that everyone gets their topic of question answered at the very least. John, this is our first fans forum together, so I'm going to start with yourself if that's okay for this one. Question coming in here, Miles has asked similar questions as George, Steve, several others as well. Why do you think the squad is better going into the new season than at the end of the last? What's improved over the summer?
Well, first of all, I was expecting a present as well from the first one.
Like a welcome gift.
Debut shirt or something.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. It's to come later. You've got to earn your stripes.
Squad-wise, look, when I came in and the end of last year, we had 29, 30 players, which is, as Stephen will attest to, it's very difficult to manage. So I think we're in a much better place in terms of that. The squad naturally went down, and we're just trying to add the right blend of players in now. If you go back 12 months ago, we started the pre-season with 7 players. So to have, a full squad plus more, and plenty of young boys coming through, I think we're in a really good position, and allowing that time for those players that came in last year to settle. It's really important, and now it's just getting the right blend of the squad together. And in pre-season, we're looking a little bit short towards the back end. There's a few injuries that have happened, but we're looking to bring some new faces in imminently as well. But we've got a few weeks left of the window yet, so we're in a good place, I think.
Can I just ask, as a follow-on from that, how you would assess recruitment so far and the other bits that you think need to be done?
Yeah, there's plenty that needs to be done, but I think importantly it was to get some bodies in the building early. And I know it's been quiet the past few weeks, but sort of intentionally so. We don't want to leak any names out there. We don't want to tell everyone what we're doing. Let everyone leak the names and link people that we're even in touch with. But that's a good thing from my point of view. I don't want our business out there and let other clubs and other agents get involved. But it was important to get a few in early, and we got to allow Stephen and the coaching team to work with those players. So we managed to do Ben, Viktor and Eric quite early on, which allows them full pre-season rather than just 7 players in when you start pre-season. So that was important. But I think if you would have looked at a different way, if we hadn't assigned players and we suddenly did 4 last week, we look like we're doing a lot of business. But if you look at most of the Championship now, I think we're about mid-range. We brought 4 players in. A few have bought 6 and 7s, a few have bought 1s and 2s, and similar in the Premier League. But in terms of paying for players as well, we are way ahead of everyone else. We've paid for 3 players. Not many teams have done that so far. So we know where we're at, but there's other players to come in sort of imminently, as I said, yeah.
John, I'm going to come to yourself next. Sure. We've just been speaking and hearing from John Walters there. You brought him in as sporting director. What made you think that he was the right man for the job?
Well, obviously he started off, came in as an interim, which was helpful. We then went through a recruitment process, interviewed some really high caliber candidates who were good, but John was just the standout candidate. Obviously, you know John's hardworking, but he's hardworking, he's intelligent, he's well respected in the industry, and he also knows what it takes for Stoke to be successful. And so, he was the standout candidate. So we're very pleased to have him.
John, making you work for it because there's plenty of questions that are coming for you, which we'll get to in a second. First, let's bring in head coach Steven Schumacher. What would you view as a successful season? That question has come from Franklin.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, we need to try and get ourselves away from the bottom half of the division where we finished too often in recent years and get into the top half. So that'll be the short-term goal. And then after that, once you're in the top half, as the Championship pretty much always proves, you're never far away from the top 6. So I remember going into the last 3 games of last season, I think everyone who finished 10th still had an opportunity to get into the playoffs. So that'll be the aim, get into the top half first, see if we're good enough to get ourselves into the top 10, and then who knows what after that.
John, over to yourself next. Most successful teams have a proven goal scorer. How difficult is it to find one of those? Darcy, Wayne, others asking that one, and that's to yourself, John Walters. Got to specify that every time. Do you want Mr. Chair, Mr. Sporting Director? No? Mr. John Walters, to you.
That's the most difficult job out of them all, as we all know. Every Premier League team's after one. Every Championship team's after one, unless you have 10 million plus in your back pocket. They're hard to find, but you know, we're in with the shout of a couple of players that we think can hit that mark. But we don't have the sort of the 8 million that can go out and buy an Ellis Sims last year or the likes. But you know, we're in with a couple, but it's the most difficult job trying to find that player. And as I said, we were speaking yesterday. I was with a couple of Premier League sporting directors. They're saying exactly the same thing. So it's, unless you're probably one of the top 4 or 5 Premier League teams in that league who have 80, 90 million, you're not getting one either.
For yourself, it's one that's good for the team, but one that's good for the dressing room as well, which I'm sure I can get Stephen to elaborate on as well. But for you, that's important.
It is important, but so are goals. So, yeah, you want that in the team. And, you know, that's not to say we don't have players in the building that are capable of that. I think we have some really good young players that probably not there yet, but, you know, in the next few years, who knows where they'll get to in terms of that, and Nathan Lowe and Emre Tezgel. But you know, the here and now, that's definitely what we're after. And as I said, we're in a race for a couple that could potentially hit that mark.
Well, I'll carry on the subject of goal scorers and forward men. This is a question from Pete, who says, what was the situation with Tyrese Campbell in the summer? Was he offered a new contract?
No, he wasn't offered a new contract. I think where Ty was in his career, like I know Ty very well. I knew his dad. Rest in peace to his dad. I knew his dad very well. So we had a good relationship, and I think for himself, he probably needed a new challenge as well. He's very open about that. And I think being one of the players that's been at a club for a long time, on a good contract, you're talking about a 10 or 15 goal striker. He never really hit those heights. He was always sort of below 10, and you know, we had a discussion between us on what we want to do and the direction we want to go with it. But you know, wish Ty all the best, and I'm pretty sure he'll go and have a long and very good career. But I think for all parties in all of our interests, including himself, I think we said a fresh start for everyone.
Okay, John Coates, on to yourself next. This question from Paul. Obviously, recent news that we had last week. Paul wants to know what changes at the football club will there be as a result of you taking the club into private ownership?
Hopefully we'll win some more football games. So that'll be a good start.
Good answer.
Yeah, no.
Good answer.
Obviously it's now completely debt-free, which I think is a real positive. Moved both the stadium and the training ground into the football group, so I think that, you know, that's good. But the kind of ambitions and the investment remains the same. You know, all the infrastructure projects, you know, that big, well, it started off as a 5-year plan, it's now I think a 6 or 7-year plan. That all continues, and the ambitions remain the same. And you know, we just want a successful football club.
Stephen, Tom's sent a question in to say, what lessons have you learnt from last season?
Yeah, a lot. I think it was my first year in the Championship as a coach and manager, and as a player. So you obviously hear a lot about how intense the Championship is, and I always looked at it from the outside thinking, well, physically it can't be that different, but it was. I think what people mean when they say it's intense is that every game, there isn't an easy one. In League One, you get a handful of games where you think if you turn up, then you'll have enough in your squad to beat the opposition. In the Championship, it's not like that. You need to turn up and be on your game 100%. So that's one thing I've learned. The next thing I would say, in particular for here, how important it is to start games well at this stadium. Trying to get on the front foot, trying to be aggressive, trying to win the first tackle. We spoke about it, obviously, when John came in, and not trying to overplay early on, which can cause a mistake or whatever, and then try and get a foothold in the game here is so important. And then away from home, again, as a manager, thinking about it and the way I am, I'm so positive. I want to try and win every game. That's just the way I am. Sometimes there has to be a realisation when you go away from home that you don't need to win it in the first 10 minutes, because there's occasions where you could be blown out of the game in the first 15, 20 minutes away from home when you've got a mountain to climb. And it's very rare that you overturn a couple of goal deficits away from home. So maybe being a little bit more pragmatic at the start of games, especially away from home, and staying in the game, because we would think we'd have enough in the squad to win it. And if we win it late on, then who cares?
Good answer, well. I actually just wondered, when you mentioned about the fact that it was your first time in the Championship, but also it was your first time moving to a new club as a head coach, and what that was like for you as well.
Yeah, again, a real challenge, and something in the long run in my career that I'm going to have to do. And it's my first experience of it, so learning how to come into an environment that isn't one that you've created or helped create, trying to figure out how our personalities are, trying to figure out what works, what messages you can get across to the players, where they respond. So coming into any club mid-season is tough for managers who've done it 5, 6, 7 times. To do it for the first time was a huge challenge, but it's one that we came through, and again, it'll stand me in good stead for the future.
John Walters, back to yourself. We've had Toby, Lisa, Lewis, Ryan, and lots of others getting in touch with BBC Radio Stoke with a question about head of recruitment. The question was, does the change you've made at head of recruitment signal a change in direction on the recruitment strategy?
Not at all, no. That's the head of recruitment. There's a whole recruitment team, and I think that sometimes goes amiss, really. You've got Mama Sidibe, Scott Coomer, Conor Froud, Rob Kosluk, Nathan Collier. There's a recruitment team, and it's not just the head of recruitment that identifies players. So we're a really strong team. I think bringing in Lee Dornborough to the role, he's worked with top sporting directors, Dan Ashworth at West Brom being one of them. I've been there and done that in building promotion-winning teams. West Brom, at Norwich, at Burnley. Brings 20 years of experience to that role. And knowing what he was doing at Hull, he was basically the sporting director in situ at Hull. So there's a lot I've got to learn from him as well in my role. So I'm conscious of building a team, having the best people around me to learn from and grow as a group. And Lee's a big part of that, but in terms of transfer direction, I've heard all things. We're only going to sign British players now and things like this, and absolutely not. We had a Zoom with without going into detail, a Japanese player earlier on. We're looking far and wide all across the world, and there's plenty of markets we're in, and someone to bring the contacts and knowledge for 20 years experience of doing that role and getting out of the Championship, I thought was pretty key and vital to what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I suppose to tag on to what you've just said there is, it's that mix, is it, of players that come from overseas to those that know the league as well.
Yeah, and I think
getting that balance right.
Yeah, I think no matter what league you're in, I think you need that mix. And I think last year, one thing I really got to highlight last year, that the players that have been there now for a year are going to feel the benefit so much this year. Like, I'm sitting down on the open training session having a great conversation with Junho in the dugout. When I first came in, I probably couldn't have that conversation with him. His English has took off. So things like that, them settling with the families and the children and they're in a house and the kids are in a school, all things like that really help. So we've got the benefit of that, but then having the knowledge and experience of people in the Championship and knowing what it takes to get out in terms of squad depth and age and experience of players. If you look at any team that got up, if you look at the teams last year, they'll have a certain amount of over 30-year-olds, they'll have a certain amount of young players. So we're just trying to get the balance right, and I think the players we've brought in, and Stephen will say the same, the great guys in there, that's really important. But it's also really important to add a little bit of flair in there, add a little bit more, and it's the same when I was a player, we had a mix of everything. So yeah, we're looking at every single market, and there'll be players from all over, I'm sure, that are coming in.
He's just passed the ball to you there. Do you want to elaborate on what he's just said a little bit?
I'd say, look, the balance is crucial. We want a team that you obviously all like watching and most importantly gets results. So whether that's a load of young players or more senior players or foreign players or domestic players, it doesn't really matter. It's a blend that's going to give us a chance to be successful, and that's what we're trying to do. We need to just get all the parts in place and keep trying to progress.
I'll stay with you, Stephen. Brett sent a question in saying that you've got an idea of how you want your team to play. I think we spoke about that before, about how a Steven Schumacher side looks. How much will that be impacted by players in the squad as well? So how much do you have to kind of change your own philosophy and ideals?
Yeah, so you never come away from your basic principles. I think we set to all the players that, since the day that we came in, and the new players that we come, we have like non-negotiables that we have to sort of live by. So things that we can then easily analyse games from and debrief stuff from. So don't come away from 4 non-negotiables. But yeah, I think you have to get, again, the blend right and the mix right, because I can't be asking players to play in a certain way if I don't think that it's capable. Now, the longer that you're here, the longer that we're allowed to bring in players in and certain transfer windows, and I think eventually it gets to a time where you go, yeah, that's kind of your team. Similar to what Mark Robbins has got here at Coventry, who we're playing at the weekend. He's been here a long time. He could say every player that he's brought can play in the way that he wants to play. But I think trying to find a blend that gives you a chance to win, that's the most important thing. Like, I'm not got that much of a big ego that we only play one way and this is how we do it, because there's more than one way to skin a cat, and as long as we win a game, that's all that matters.
John Coates next. This is a question from another John. Says, I think everybody is already well aware of your views on profit and sustainability rules, but what is the latest on the possibility of them being changed in the future? This is your favourite topic, isn't it?
I genuinely think if I was on Mastermind, this would be the topic. Yeah. So there are things changing on the financial fair play front. I think if you look at in the Premier League, so they have been trialling alongside the existing P&S. They've been trialling what they call squad cost ratio. Basically, you can spend a percentage of your income on the squad. Yeah, they're expecting that to then come in fully next year instead of P&S. In Leagues 1 and 2, you've got what they call SCMP, which is again a percentage you're able to spend on your squad. The good part of that, the way League 1 and League 2 have done it, you can then, if you put in equity, you can then bump up that amount. So it's a very sensible way of doing it real time. There's a working party set up to look into what we're going to do in the Championship. We're aligned in that. We've John Pelling over there is actually on the working party. I think watch this space. We'll see where that leads to.
Another John.
Another John.
Quite a popular name here at Stoke City Football Club. A lot was said there, but you seem to know what you're talking about, so we're in safe hands at least there anyway, so that's good to know. Going on to another John Walters. This is a question we've had about from Daniel. Nathan asked this as well. Just on the topic again of recruitment, we haven't brought anyone in on loan during the window so far. Is that something that's likely to happen between now and the 1st of September? And what are the factors that impact the ability to get those loan deals done?
Yeah, of course. We've got 5 loan spots that you're allowed to use in your starting 11. So, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, we'll be using them. So, What factors to bring them in? Well, it's similar to transferring a player, but a little bit more. You've got to work with the club you want to bring them in. First of all, they've got to trust you as a person, as a head coach, as a club to look after their asset. And I think over the years, players that have been here have now pushed on to be Premier League players. Although the loan spells might not have been successful on the pitch, they would have been seen as successful possibly by the club. Your Philogene, your Liam Delap. Who else have we had?
Jack Clark's not
Jack
too
Clark,
bad, is he?
yeah, Keanu Hoover even going. But there's players that Premier League clubs that trust us with the players. So to go into it, yeah, you've got to set up a Zoom. We've had plenty over the past few days, haven't we, with players that there's a whole video profile that goes into the players and a lot of work that goes into their all the good things they do, all the deficiencies as well, because we want to tell them what they're bad at, what we can work on with them, what we provide as a club in terms of facilities and what it's going to be like on the pitch as a Stoke City player, which for a Premier League club is quite attractive because a lot of young players have all the attributes to be a Premier League player, but sometimes they don't have the mentality. And to come here and play, the hard work's demanded from you. And I think a lot of clubs want that in the young players. So that helps a lot, being able to bring them here and show them a proper crowd to play in front of. So you have that, but then you've got to convince the player, the loans manager, sporting director, their agents, sometimes the family. And then it's how you're going to look after them. So it's the playing side of it, it's the off the field side of it, it's the development side of it and coaching. Yeah. There's a lot. And then 10 other clubs are saying the same thing to them. So you've got to sell it a bit, but...
Is there a house for them where the cats are allowed to live?
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun, yeah. And the answer was yes.
Madness. Swear. Cats.
What 19-year-old wants a cat?
I don't know. Baffles me.
But there's a lot, yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Cats or dogs? Cats or dogs?
I've got a dog, but it's my daughter's birthday today, and we told her she can get a cat.
You're going to have a fun house. You're going to have a very fun house. Yeah. In the midst of all that, serious topic in a second, when the word Zoom got mentioned, I just saw Stephen's face kind of... I don't know what the reaction was. All I could think of what your Zoom background would be.
I have Zoom and team nightmares, I swear. I wake up in the middle of the night while we're doing a Zoom. Like, I've got to do a Zoom, got to prepare one. So, yeah, it's this stage of the season, this part of the off-season, pre-season, it's always like this. It's full on. And I say there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not just you pick up the phone anymore and say to a manager or a player, can we sign that player? It's a lot more complicated than that. And it takes a lot of time. And that's why deals just don't get done overnight. It's a long process.
You need to show a bit of loving, a lot of loving, don't you?
God, a lot of loving, a lot of ego stroking. These modern day players.
And apparently stroking cats too, as well.
Hey, it gets them in the building.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you've got to make it work.
Well, I've learned something tonight that I didn't think I was going to. So, where do we go from here? On the subject of young players, actually, and we're actually talking about our own young players at Stoke City. This is for you, Stephen. Do you expect there to be first-team opportunities for some of the homegrown players during the forthcoming campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be a number of them in the squad for Saturday's game. We've had a few of the lads being with us throughout the whole of the pre-season, and I can honestly say they've been outstanding. So much so that when we mention other players, like loan players, for example, or younger players that we're trying to bring, we're comparing them to the ones that we've already got and saying, well, is that going to stand in the way of one of our own grown players? So we have to be really careful with decisions that we make, because there's nothing better than seeing one of our own out there every week. But also we have to be mindful that you can't just throw them in at the deep end when they're not ready, because that can have a negative effect on their long-term career. So, yeah, to answer the question, there'll definitely be opportunities for them to play, because some of them are certainly good enough. And
John, you've obviously got the setup with the academy as well. We've got Gareth Owen leading the academy, and I suppose you, Gareth, the fantastic academy team that you've got at Clayton Wood, have in regular conversations with those that are on the periphery, those that are in the squad, those that are still quite young. It's important to keep them in the know, but get an understanding of where they feel they're at as well, I suppose.
Player-wise?
Yeah, player-wise in the club.
Yeah, and look, going away with the 21s and the first team to Cork was really beneficial. There's a lot of boys that were training up and across, and a lot of people got minutes. But yeah, there's lots of very, very good young players bubbling under the seams, and it's getting that right. So you flip the question on the loans, it's getting their pathway right as well, and where they need to get minutes, where they need to go out on loan, flip it the other way. And it's not always the best team to go on loan to. A player might need a development where they need to go out the comfort zone and go to live on their own and learn how to cook themselves rather than live at home. There's all that side of it. But in terms of the academy side, yeah, there's lots of work going on. Academy philosophy, there's a lot of good people in that building. Yeah, and a lot of work going on in terms of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to create at the club. That everyone has an input as well, not just me dictating or Gareth dictating. It's an input from the coaches as well, so it's a buy-in and developing them.
Learn how to go on loan, learn to live on your own, learn how to cook, learn how to look after a cat. All really important things. Question for John Coates next. Guess what this is about? Profit and sustainability.
Right. Terrific.
Does the change to ownership structure, of course, that was announced last week, make any difference to our position under profit and sustainability rules? Are we still in a competitive position when it comes to what we are able to spend this season? That's from Paul.
Okay, so it doesn't have a material effect on the profit and sustainability calculations. In terms of competitiveness, clearly with the profit and sustainability rules hugely favours the parachute payment clubs at the moment. So at a level we're not, competitive with them. They get the benefit of 40 odd million from the Premier League, which counts towards their profit and sustainability calculation, whereas if we put equity in, that doesn't count. However, within non-parachute payment clubs, we'll have a competitive budget. Yeah.
Well answered. Your favourite topic. Mastermind. John Walters, for you next. This is from Darcy. How do you go about selling the club to potential new players? You mentioned this a bit loans, but I suppose permanently coming over as well. What's that like? How do you pitch Stoke City Football Club to a potential incoming player?
Well, first of all, one of the oldest clubs in existence. So that's one. There's so much history to do with this club. But any player that comes here and sees the facilities we've got, it's a Premier League stadium, right? The training facilities are already Premier League standard. They're actually better than some of the Premier League clubs. So some of the lads that have come into the building know that. Got better than the club it used to be at. And we're putting a new £12 million building on as well. And we're doing a £1 million parent. So there's so much going on that it's an unbelievable place to come and work in. So just in terms of facilities, everything's there for them. Then you want to talk about where you want to get to, and it's not, oh look, yeah, we want to just finish there. It's like, this is where the club wants to go to, and we're going to do it. Do you want to be a part of the journey? This is what we're about. This is what the coaching team's about. We want young, hungry players in the building that want to drive that as well, and have the hunger to get to where they want to get to, with the right blend. But we want that type of person that matches our ambitions. So as well as selling the club to players, we want that from players as well, and we get a feeling when we speak to players, do they have that in them or not? But in terms of facilities, everything's there to sell it to a player. In terms of ambitions, talked about before being debt-free. There's only, I read something the other day, actually, a little boy brought up to me, there's 5 clubs, either in Europe or the world, that are debt-free. Stoke City are one of them now. That's unbelievable, right? For a club, unbelievable. And the others are some giants of the world. So to have that, I say to a lot of people that are coming in, when a player's getting transferred to a championship team, even a Premier League team to an extent, the clubs are on decline. The stadiums aren't maintained. There's no investments in the facilities. There's no investments in the playing squad. And coaches and staff are managing a decline of a club, which is how much they can slow that down. Now we're on the other way, we're on the incline, but it's how can we accelerate it to go like that whilst doing it the right way? So telling all that to a player of a club, how could you not want to be a part of it? And seeing what it was like in the Premier League when it was here, and having the stadium full, and I'm not make no bones about it and say these are the best fans because we're the loudest fans, and it's intimidating for any team that come. Hence why we're changing the stadium around and we're doing different things. But we've got to be competitive on the pitch to fill it. But how could you not want to come to us as a player?
You mentioned the club going in an upward trajectory. I always ask John this question, so I'm kind of going to flip it on its head for a second. I'm guessing that having John Coates as the owner is a big pitch that you make in terms of the investment that he cares about the club to players that know they're coming to a place in the right hands.
Look at all the clubs now, what's happening to all over the country, the world. It's investment companies coming in and seeing where they can make a profit and seeing where they can tie into the club. And a lot of clubs end up in a mess, and we've seen it, and we see it now. It's going on now. So to have an owner that lives locally, that has his workforce locally, loves the club, and speaking in front of him, speaking with John, his passion for the club when we talk about times when we were in Europe and we get back there. That's what I think, that's what I believe, that's my ambition. We're in the role I'm in. So when I speak to a player, I'm not just making it up to sell them the club, to stroke a cat, to bring them in. I believe it. Although I'll do that as well. I believe it. I'm genuine in what I believe, and I will get there. And this club will get there. And having John there is phenomenal.
Stephen, you started something. You've literally let the cat out the bag, and now we're not escaping it. On to you now, head coach Stephen Schumacher. Richard sent a question in. Says, can we expect to see a Stoke team that plays out patiently from the back this season, or will we be more direct in our approach? Richard, with that question.
Again, it'll be a mixture of the styles. I think we got that mix pretty well, especially in the last 12 games. We went to Preston, if I remember, last year, and the ball got kicked that hard. It's still got a headache. The ball, there was no passing whatsoever in that game. And then we played here at home in other games, Bristol City, when we played Plymouth, where we passed out from the back, and I wouldn't say it was patient. For me, patient doesn't have to mean slow. For me, playing out from the back means it has to be in control. But if control means going fast and going through the thirds and getting it into a goal-scoring opportunity, then that's what we're looking for. So we will mix the game up for whichever way we feel as a coaching staff is the best way to do it for us to be effective.
Okay, John Coates, back to yourself. This question comes from Denise. I don't think it's that Denise.
I don't think so.
That would be interesting.
I'd be surprised.
Especially with the question, what are your views on the new TV deal and the impact that it has on kick-off times across the season? Terry's also asked this question as well.
It's a good question. To level, we've got to see. I'm conscious with us being allocated quite a few 12:30 kick-off times that the effect that could well be having on supporters. And I was speaking to Simon King earlier that potentially the effect it will have on corporate sales, etc. I think it was undoubtedly the best deal that was put in front of the EFL, but we'll have to monitor how it affects ourselves and how it affects supporters.
Okay, Stephen, back to yourself. Question from Brett. Who out of the current first team squad and academy groups are your tips for the very, very top?
Oh. Okay, so it's...
Don't tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. Without
if you're watching this, back off.
Yeah. Yeah, and without putting any of the players under any unnecessary added pressure, I think we've got some real talented players here. We've already mentioned the academy products that are coming through. Now, their immediate goal is to keep learning, keep progressing, keep trying to get themselves into the first team squad and then into the first team starting 11 as often as possible. If we can have a regular first team starter, that's an academy product, that would be outstanding. And then as part of the first team squad, I don't need to name names. I think we can all see who's got the potential to go and play. And if it's saying the very top, who can go and play in the Premier League, I think we've got more than one who can go and do that. But obviously the opportunities have got to be there for the players to have the freedom, the confidence to go and perform, and then we need to get results, because that's what's going to put them in that spotlight. So yeah, I think without naming any, Juno Bae. Sorry, I just couldn't help it. Nah, and there's others, and there is others, obviously. I'll say, he probably couldn't understand it anyway, so it's not going to put him under any pressure.
Hey, I'll just jump on that one, by the way. When we were chatting with Junho the other day, we were chatting, I said, do you understand Scouse yet? He just laughed at me. he knew exactly what I meant.
He said it's easier than Scottish.
Yes, correct. That's what he said.
I knew what he said. So there you go.
Good to know. Right, let's go on to... actually, this is back to yourself now. John Walters first, sorry. Because I've had a question in from Hoppo, from Ben. Several others have actually asked this question as well, so one that the supporters want to know. Do you feel like the club is more settled now than when you first arrived, and that everyone is buying into the club's identity?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of turmoil when he arrived, but clubs go through it. I felt like we needed the connection back with the fans, with the staff between both buildings, the stadium staff, the training ground staff, and touch upon Simon King and all the work he does, and Anthony Emerson in the fan engagement. I love Anthony, brilliant. All the work going on, there's so much going on, and people comment to me, they've never known a club to do so much and have so much enthusiasm and get the fans involved and what they're trying to do. And I feel that, so I've been trying to be a part of it as much as I can. So that was a big thing. I felt like we needed to connect back together. And when you first go in, when you see things wrong, you sort of go, okay, well, you end up micromanaging things and being really involved and trying to get things right. And then when you put people in positions, you can sort of step out a little bit and let them lead their departments and let you lead them. And that's where you want to get to. You want to get to a point where you're all running smoothly. There'll always be problems and ups and downs along the way, but I think it's so important to have everyone on the same page, the alignment right across the club, and have that ambition across the club to where you want to get to. It's not just surviving or being comfortable where we're at. You know, we want to get to there, so let's hold ourselves to those standards to get there and push ourselves, push each other, and not have an environment where it's a dictator just telling people what to do. You want it, so it's a collective. You all have the buy-in, you're all a part of it. So I think it's getting better. I think there's been a lot of work going on over the summer, and I feel we're in a much better place now, but you know, it takes time. It's not going to get from 0 to 100 straight away. It's going to take time to get to where we want to get to. But it's so important that we're all connected with it, because, you know, yes, we want to win the championship next year. Of course we do, along with 23 other teams. But we're going to go through some tough times. It's a championship, right? We're going to have some dark moments, but it's about all being on the same sheet, knowing we're heading in the right direction, and you've got good people behind the scenes with that vision, because we're going to need it. It's a long season, and to get to where we want to get to, we need everyone on the same page.
Well, that will lead nicely on to the question we've got for yourself, John Coates. Andrew sent this in. It's for you, your ambitions for the football club, short and long term, kind of a tag on from what John's been talking about.
So as John's kind of alluded to, you don't get there straight away. I mean, the first thing to do is stop finishing between 14th and 17th. You know, every season we've got to get in that top half of the table. But yeah, ultimately the ambition is to get to the Premier League and be competitive in the Premier League.
Okay. This is for you, Stephen, and it's a question from Tom. Another tactical one. We've got a few tactical fans getting in touch with questions for this one. Tom says, can you explain to us the process of how you analyse a performance after a game?
Yeah, so I'm not good on a Saturday night after games, I know, or a midweek game. Occasionally, if you've had an away game in a midweek fixture, you'll get the laptop out and start watching, but quite often you're emotional after games. You're really high after you've had a good win, or sometimes you think you know it's the end of the world if you've had a poor performance. So I like to try and process it the next day when I like to be a bit colder. I usually can't sleep anyway. I'm not a great sleeper through the season especially. So I'll get up early on a Sunday morning before I take my lad to play footy, and I'll get the laptop out. Might take me an hour. Sometimes I'll watch the first 45 minutes and I'll watch the second 45 minutes when a Super Sunday game's on or whatever. But by the time Sunday lunchtime, Sunday evening comes around, I've usually calmed down. And I've got an idea in my head then about what we're doing through the week and what we need to speak, what individual players do we need to speak to. And I'll be obviously liaising with the coaching staff about saying, okay, you might need to pick up with the defending unit, or the midfield players kept giving the ball away, so maybe it's something to show them, or we might just decide we need to do a whole team debrief. But more often than not, there will be a video analysis early on in the week that addresses the last game, and then it gets to Monday afternoon, the last game is done, and you're planning for the next one. The cycle just repeats over and over again. So yeah, that's how I do it. Sunday when I'm not raging, angry, or drunk.
Do you have a life outside of football?
Yeah, I do, yeah, and that's dead important to do that. I say I need to give me missus at least an hour of me time a week.
It's generous, that.
So I speak to her on a Saturday night for a few hours, and then the kids are the most important thing. Sunday's a family day, and unless we're in work, obviously we've got a game on a Tuesday. Sunday we're off doing kid things, so I say try and get up early, get it out the way with, so I'm not being boring dad all day. Yeah, I can socialise with them.
John Walters, back to yourself. This one's from Paul. Paul wants to know, were the recent under-21 coaching appointments of Ryan Shawcross and Liam Lawrence primarily because of their affinity with the club and a further move to unite the team and the fans, or simply put, they were the best people for the job?
First of all, yeah, they're already within the club, so we want to develop coaches within our club, and they've all got their own things you need to develop, I think, themselves, and I work with Gareth Owen with it, and I put Ryan as head phase lead of the 21s and 18s, so he can, but head coach of the 21s with Liam Lawrence as assistant but lead, because I think he needs to learn managing staff as well with it, not just being a coach. So his development as a head coach, he needs to manage staff the same way Stephen does, things he's talking about. And then you've got Dave Hibbett and Darren Potter in the 18s, and I think Dave Hibbett, it's such an important role, the 18s coach, but also he needs to learn, I think, around first team environments where he wants to get round and where he wants to develop himself. So put him to help with the loans, our loans going out this year, so we can get round and get speaking to your Matt Sadler, who's at Walsall at the moment, with Tommy Simkin and other managers that we let the other players go to, so he can develop himself in his networks and things. But no, we want to, the same way as in any business or any club, you want to develop the people you have from within and give your best attention to those. So no, they're in the club, they have an affinity club, that helps, because they've seen what good looks like, what great looks like at this club, and had success, so they can put those standards into the players. But they're also on a journey, and the same underneath them, you got Andy Matthews is 12 to 16's lead phase, Theo lower down, you got Ricardo Fuller who's taken my son's team, you've got everyone all the way through, but everyone's progression at their own rate and has their own development side of it. So, you know, for me, it's not just about developing players. I'm a big one for developing staff within the club and giving them the best opportunity to be the best coaches or whatever they want to go into, that side of it. So, yes, it helps that they've had an affinity, but no, they're very good coaches.
Just whilst we're on the conversation of Ryan for a second, I just wondered, Stephen, what sort of day-to-day, it's not as close, but what your relationship is like with him? Is he's kind of the next port of call when it comes to the next rank of player in the 21s?
Yeah, so get on really well with Ryan, and in particular this season, what we're going to try and do as well is when we're doing match preparation, we're going to actually do it tomorrow. We'll bring the under-21s team over. We'll set the under-21s up to play like Coventry. Alex Morris and Ryan will sit down and brief the under-21s about what they want them to do and how they want them to play. And then they go up against our players then, so it's almost a little bit more realistic, rather than against the other senior players in the first team. So that relationship with Ryan is growing. The relationship, it's good for the under-21s because they see how the first team manager coaches, what the messages were given to the players. So it's easier for them then when they transition into the first team. It's not new for them and it doesn't become such a surprise. And yeah, again, I think that's going to be beneficial moving forward. It's something that we didn't do last year. But this year we're definitely going to pick it up, and so far we've done it in the pre-season and it's worked.
Staying with the academy, back to yourself, John Walters. Carolyn's asked, can you give us some insight as to what academy recruitment looks like, and maybe talk about the team involved in that?
Frosty, Andrew Frost.
Oh, what a guy.
Yeah, he loves the club. He's worked at so many different roles within the club, and where he's at now, he's such a good guy. Absolutely loves the club, but he works so hard with it, and yeah, it's slightly different than first team, obviously, because there's less data. He's got to get out there. We've got a lot of grassroots recruit. He's got his own team of recruiting people grassroots within certain areas, but it's about his networks and how he's picking up and, you know, again, developing people. How do we extend his networks to other clubs, to Premier League clubs, to the best young ones coming out? Because he's so passionate about it, and like Jaden Dixon, like he's one that found him, picked him, getting released from a club, got him in quickly. But it's him working and then him doing the same job we're trying to do to the families there. And it's so important because you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids going into the first team all the way down as well. But yeah, it's slightly different. But we want to get them involved with the first team to understand what the first team recruitment are doing, and that everyone being aligned and going to the philosophy of the club and how everyone plays, and just align it right through, because it'll make it a lot easier for every recruitment department to then go, okay, this is the type of player we want. This is what we want to play like, this is what we're looking for, and makes it easier. But yeah, our starter, what a guy.
Yeah. Well, he the first time that we ever spoke was, it was almost instantly went, seen Jaden Dixon play. Yeah, I found him.
Oh, he pat himself on the back, did he?
Before hello, actually. So nice to meet you, Lucas. Before all that, I wanted to make it very clear, as one of the very exciting players in the academy. Stephen, back to yourself. Franklin's got this question. Says, if a player in your squad was asked to describe what a Steven Schumacher training session is like, what do you think they'd say?
It's amazing. Look, hopefully the players enjoy it. As we said today on a Zoom call, the training ground, it's where you spend most of your time. So it's got to be enjoyable. The players got to enjoy coming into work. They've got to come in there with a passion and a determination to try and learn. So we're huge on that we like to train the way we play. So the training sessions are not drawn out long 2-3 hour sessions. You know, they're quite intense, but always with a level of detail that we feel as though the players can come off and go, okay, well, I've learned something today, or I feel as though I've improved, or I've tried to improve, and I'm working on my own individual game as well as trying to get the teams organised. So, yeah, most importantly, they've got to enjoy it, and it's got to be relevant. We don't just like having fun. It's got to be relevant for the next game or what we're working on. So, yeah, to the point, and everyone with a smile on the face.
Do you know, I actually saw, I can't remember why, but I saw a picture of you and Alex Ferguson sat together back at your former club. And I thought how great that would be to have someone to learn off and hear about these fantastic training methods. So what do you think of Shuey Ball? You must have learned a lot from that.
I think we got beat that day that he came to watch us, so he obviously didn't learn a lot. But no, he was great. What a guy. And again, he said something to my son. I was with my son that day, and he was talking to him about Cristiano Ronaldo and how he worked every day on his left foot, and just that experience that he's got. And if anyone can have half of the coaching career he's had, then you haven't done bad.
I'm going to stick with you. This is a question that we've had in. This is from Amy, who says, what's your mum's name, by the way?
Sandra. Okay,
so this isn't your mum. Because the question is, how come you don't wear a suit on a match day?
Just like it'd be too uncomfy. I'd end up ripping the tie off. No, I like to look nice and relaxed, and have my own sort of style where it's relaxed, it's comfortable, and hopefully not too shabby. Doesn't look like, still looks smart, but don't overdo it. So a suit for me would be overdoing it. I'd feel all uncomfy, yeah, and I'd want to just get the jacket off. So no, nice and relaxed and chilled.
Would there be an occasion you ever got the suit out?
When we get to Wembley in the FA Cup final. Like last time.
I think when we did get to the FA Cup final, I'm pretty sure Tony went out in a suit and then got changed into he got changed into his tracksuit.
Will you let him do that? You're the boss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if he gets to the FA Cup final, he can do what the hell he likes.
I'll wear the suit back there. Definitely.
Okay, we are getting towards the end of the fans forum. I think this is quite a nice question to end on. We'll do a couple more afterwards, but very quickly, Billy, this is a question for all of you. I'm going to come to you last, John, because you gave a very good answer last time, so no pressure. I'll start with you, John. Make the way this way. What do you believe are the main reasons for optimism ahead of the new season? John Walters first, please.
Well, I think the way we finished the season, 12 games, hang on about it, then we 1.75 points per game, put you top 4. We finished really strongly, so that was we feel the energy's grown, the excitement's grown back, and the connection's coming back, what I spoke about before, and I think that gives huge optimism for it, but we're on a journey with it, so we've got to realise we're on a journey, but to have that there, I think that for me gives huge optimism for it, and I think we're on the same page with a lot of things of how we want to grow the squad, what type of player we want in, the direction we want to go, and you know, my personal ambitions, but the club ambitions, debt-free, what isn't there to be optimistic about?
Good answer. Stephen?
Yeah, I will echo what John's just said. Obviously coming in last season with 24 games, we accumulated an amount of points that were enough to stay in the division, which was the objective. We would have had enough if it was over a full season to be approaching that top 10. So that was with a squad that we think that we could improve. We feel as though we have improved it over the summer, and we will further improve it. So yeah, the progression and again, with something John said earlier on, the connection that we've got back with the fans, I feel as though that's improving, and it's such a huge part of this club that if we can get the support and the backing, then the team will definitely flourish. So that's why I'm optimistic.
Firstly, before you answer, do you remember what your answer was at the end of the fans forum we did last time?
Did I say Junho Bae?
And actually Stephen Schumacher, but it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to repeat that? Do you want to copy and paste, or?
I'm going with the same again, right? I'm going to add. I'll carry on with that connection with the fans. I really did feel that, and you know, also I think we'd all want to thank the fans for during that difficult period sticking with us. It was that was an amazing feeling, and I think really got us over the line. And then I'd also just go with just the management team here at Stoke, both on and off the pitch. Yeah. I I know you maybe don't see it all, but I genuinely think we've got such a strong team now, and I think we're ready to lift off with it.
How excited are you for this place on Saturday?
Oh, I'm nervous as hell.
But the little bit before, when they walk out and everyone's cheering, that's nice, isn't it?
It's only nice at the end if you win.
John, looking forward to it?
Yeah, of course. The season, pre-season. Just getting players fit. You just want the season to start where the business starts, isn't it? But yeah, just seeing the team out there on the pitch, full stadium, new stand, fan zone. We were in there yesterday, weren't we? I'll go to that. There's lots of things to be optimistic for, and can't wait for the season to start.
Same to you.
How good the safe standing looks out there as well.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere, having home fans there, it's the atmosphere is going to be tremendous.
We saw a little bit of that against Alkmaar, didn't we, as well? And what a big difference that can make.
But that's going to be packed on Saturday, so...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Same to you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Can't wait. I hope all you guys are looking forward to it as well, and look forward to seeing you all. Can't wait.
Coventry's it's a tough first game, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Say no more. Say no more. I thought we'd just end it. You mentioned the fan zone, didn't you, there, John? And I thought we'd just end on a little bit of a fun one, so we've got a couple of minutes to go. I thought you've all kind of got a bit of pulling power. You've all got a bit of sway. You've got a lot of sway, John Coates. I wondered if you were going to put your own show on at the fan zone for your birthday or something, whatever. Who would you have performing at the fan zone? We'll leave Pussycat Dolls.
I'll go with that answer.
I don't know how to.
They had the cat link, see?
That was so good. It's kind of ruined my thing now. That was a fantastic answer. Give us one to be quick, because I know Stephen likes his music. But have you got one in your head straight away?
I'm going with what I said last time, Foo Fighters. Get them on. Come on,
Yeah.
John. Get Dave down here.
Well, I'm the other end of the spectrum. I'm Sade every time.
Sade. I'd love to see that next to Foo Fighters.
The Foo Fighters.
It'd be incredible.
I think we should have the new players' initiation songs up
Oh,
there.
God.
Right. One more before we go. Just on the topic of the fan zone. One for you, one for you. In the current squad, or your coaching staff, who's DJing?
Daniel Johnson, DJ, isn't it? No.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're better than that.
Yeah. Husey for me, yeah.
Right, okay.
He does like quizzes for the staff on away journeys, and he's really good. His musical knowledge is excellent.
You
yeah.
told me on Radio Stoke that he likes Westlife, though.
Yeah. His knowledge is good. His taste isn't good, but his musical knowledge is pretty good. Yeah.
John, I want to actually form a teammate that you choose
For DJ,
to DJ. Do a DJ set at the fan zone.
a former teammate.
Yeah. Or you can go for a current player. But
I'd say Crouchy, yeah, what a shout. What a shout. Get him down to do the podcast.
good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't
Good
it?
idea.
No pressure, but everyone message him, tell him to come down and do a podcast.
Is that a deal with the group? Yeah, we're all going to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, well, thank you very much for your questions. Hopefully you've had some of those answered today at the Fans Forum. Thank you very much, one last time, to our three panellists, John Coates, Stephen Schumacher, John Walters.